Hey folks, welcome back to Retirement Roadmap with Master Plan Retirement Consultants. My name is Evan Fricks, retirement planner. We're doing things a bit different today. In past episodes, we've discussed the importance of community involvement and finding purpose in retirement. Today, we'll be speaking to one of our clients, Dan Hydrick, and discuss some of the ways he spends his time giving back to the community. Dan isn't retired yet, but he devotes much of his time to helping veterans get on the right track. We want to highlight Dan and the work he does as inspiration for listeners who may be seeking community involvement in their own retirement or who may be interested in providing aid to local veterans. So first and foremost, the Bravo Victor Fund is a nonprofit 501c3 focused on supporting Cobb County veterans accountability and treatment court. These veterans have committed serious misdemeanors or minor felonies that carry a jail sentence. Typically carry a jail sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the participants of the program enter directly from incarceration with no income or resources. The Bravo Victor Fund's mission is to provide the critical emergency resources that are needed to help them transition through the program. The fund is used to help them stay in and complete the treatment program. So before we jump into Bravo Victor, Dan, give us a little background on yourself.
5'11", no. I've served United States Army. I'm an Army sergeant. Did my 6 years through Vietnam. My father, my brothers, we all served. Made it to Cobb in about 1986, Cobb County. Hooked up with a lot of the service organizations to support veterans. Been doing it now ever since. I'm a facilitator. That's my job. Trying to, or maybe a connector, not a facilitator. I connect people to people to people, especially amongst the 501c3s.
You do that professionally as well, and that probably carries over really well to the 501c3s.
Yeah, no, that's right. I'm an executive recruiter of engineering and science, but most part, that part falls outside the realm of the vets. But yes, it gives me the speaking capabilities to get what I need done.
Absolutely. So how long have you partnered with Bravo Victor Fund?
Bravo Victor was created, the Cobb County Superior Court Veterans Treatment and Accountability started, I started with them about 10 years ago. The Bravo Victor was established about midway through that because we just didn't have the funds. The program's all volunteer through Cobb County. The folks that come through, as you had said, sometimes are financially strapped, including housing, transportation, food, clothing, what have you. So they get in the program. We try to find them housing through HUD, BASH, and things like that, and other organizations. But then they don't have any furniture. They don't have any food. So they get them set up with the VA so they can get benefits that are deserved. So Bravo Victor was created to fill the void. We had a person whose mom was really sick in Chicago. We bought him a plane ticket, flew him up there to get home. Funerals, folks that have the no need for have no transportation needs, and probably no tires because we had to buy a set of tires for somebody to put them on his car. And then from there, obviously Bravo Victor takes care of the storage for storing furniture and stuff that I collect. They had a place to put it, so that we can get them furniture now. So it's a stopgap. And by the way, at a certain point, the veterans that are being given the funds can pay it back. Certain things we'll advance, certain things they'll pay back, certain things we just gift. Right? And so it pays for what the volunteers and the other associations don't give back.
I think the first introduction to Bravo Victor that you introduced me to was something as simple as cleaning up someone's yard. And then finding homes for these folks. A lot of these guys or gals are provided housing. A lot of times those houses are empty. So providing furniture, that was another one of the first things that you introduced me to is just, basically I'm hauling furniture 90% of the time, which is fantastic. I think you mentioned when we were at the Veterans Court a month or so ago, you were on the phone with one of your mentees and ask him, hey, how are you? Where are you? Oh, I'm here, I'm home. Where'd you sleep last night? Oh, I slept here. No, where'd you sleep? Here, in here. Well, did you have a bed? Well, no, I'm just here on the floor. But, he's happy as could be. He's got a roof over his head. So I think that being able to provide that furniture is a fantastic thing as well.
Yeah, that as we gain enough funds, we literally now, I used to, I'm sort of like the quartermaster for the vet court. I gather stuff. Y'all were kind enough to put up tables, and I mean, it's amazing what little goes big. So the Bravo Victor pays for a queen-size bed, box springs, mattress, and just a metal frame. Because a lot of these guys, and the one you were referring to he was sleeping on some sort of air mattress that kind of went out of air at night, Yeah. But even sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Example, I called a gentleman that called me and said he was told to call me because I might have some furniture. The echo in the room was so loud.
Yeah.
But he was so happy.
Yeah.
He said, I got a place, I got a shelter. So yes, it is worth every ounce of giving it back that way.
So we've talked about some of the tangible needs that these guys have, whether it's housing or furniture or just utilities, living supplies, things like that. But could you speak a little bit to the mentorship and what that takes, what kind of duties that requires?
We were always looking for veterans. It's called similar to a battle buddy. The vet court has these folks, and the staff has volunteered. The mentors that are in there, you serve a 2-year hitch. It's like every time you pick up a mentee, you got to do 2 years on the stand.
That's a typical program length is 2 years.
It's 2 years long. We're trying to get everything from medical, legal, all things straightened out, and put this veteran, back on a livable track. Mentors, we're required to be there every Friday at court, standing right beside them. We're also required to be there whenever they need us on the phone 24/7. Things happen in life, especially when you're recovering from drugs, alcohol, domestic abuse, those kind of things. And you need somebody to speak to. It is a very, very successful program where the mentors are themselves veterans, irresponsible of the conflict. We have a mix of old, middle, and brand new, as far as the mentees are concerned. So after 2 years, hopefully yours graduates, that's a 2-year plan if they don't get sanctioned, because there are rules that we have to go by, and if you break the rules, a lot of the things that the court, this Veterans Treatment Court has set up is, they have everything like curfew. They get what's considered a bed check.
Yeah.
At random. Drug screening, mandatory meetings, whether it's AA, NA, it doesn't matter, or whether it's just a wellness check, right? We put them we get their VA benefits put together. So the mentor, we're the backstop. Trip, fall, stumble, yeah. So, and between the mentors, we talk amongst ourselves as to what theirs might need. We try to keep their life very private to the public. We don't try, we do. So when mentor to mentor speak, we speak of, because we know them in the courtroom. Right. We're there with them every week. And we're all there when they graduate, because that's our payday. That makes things happy. So the mentorship it's a duration.
It's an amazing program. Myself and a couple of other members from our staff attended about a month or so ago a recent Veterans Court. Personally, I was blown away by several things. One, the camaraderie in the room. Each veteran in the program, like you just mentioned, he stood before the judge, gave an update. Their mentor stood with them and gave a report as well, just how they've been doing in the program. Small victories, losses, things like that, struggles and things like that. But you could tell that the judge and everyone in the room were invested in these men and women. Vocal support was constant. A lot of shouting and hoo-ahs. Joking, ribbing between military branches was also fun. It was not what I expected when I was showing up to a court atmosphere.
Judge Leonard is, each judge we've had, Judge Green originally, Judge Poole, Judge Kale, and then Judge Leonard, they're all volunteers. They have their own day job. but the passion to help veterans get through this, the district attorney's office provides, the prosecuting attorneys there, the staff is incredible, the mental support, psychological support, but just tries to keep it under control. But when you have a room full of Army, Navy, Marine, Air Force, we don't let them get away with anything.
Yeah.
That's where the hoorah and the hooah comes.
Yeah. Well, I think you could even tell, now that you mentioned that it was completely volunteer. Even some of the bailiffs and the way they interacted with people, it was like they were old friends. It was really, really interesting.
We're amazed that the Sheriff's Department provides some outstanding people. You do curfew checks. It's kind of wild, 11 o'clock at night, somebody's knocking on your door and it's the Sheriff's Department, right? They have, it is amazing, the relationship when it's all over with, how the veteran feels about law enforcement, how the veteran feels about court. Some of these folks, this isn't their first rodeo about being arrested or incarcerated. Some of them have been at it a long time. Obviously, drug and alcohol takes its toll. A lot of the injuries that the veterans suffer during combat days aren't healed, whether that's physical or mental. But the physical part, a lot of times the medications that they were given at the time, they became dependent on them. And then when they were released into the wild, as we say, that had to make up for it. So the mentor's job is to make sure that if there's any mental lapse, kind of put them back in. And because we understand the military way of life, it's a lot of joking. You can't take this it's serious enough, but you can't take it that serious to know these guys they're trying. So Sergeant Major is the head of the Mentor Corps. He assigns a mentor to a very specific mentee. He's done a really great job of matching them up. Sometimes we never know in the beginning how it's going to work out.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys have such an eclectic atmosphere within the courtroom anyways. You had a couple of currently incarcerated veterans who were pulled from, I guess, where the detention center or jail where they were in cuffs to attend, and as an introduction to the program, is this something you might be interested in? It's a lot of work, and you'll see by some of the feedback from the veterans between the vets and the judge, it's a long process, and it is not easy, but they even shared at the end, the two incarcerated gentlemen, that they were shocked at the support in the room and that something like this existed.
Talking about fundraising, we those orange jumpsuits that you see them come in with, that's normal county suits. They're different colored because I don't know how the coding works there. And the sheriff told me one time. But we're working for our veterans in the vet pod. Our next fundraiser will be to
Well, before you go on, tell the audience what the vet pod is.
So when you're incarcerated, you go into general population. Veterans in general population don't do well. They have a different kind of tick. When we were having the vet courts early on, and one of our veterans would make a mistake, they would be sanctioned, and a day in jail, 3 days in jail. There's a certain period where we move them out of the program, but they were being put back in general population. Sad enough, one of our veterans was put back in general population, and because the other folks in the prison realized he had special privileges, they worked him over pretty good. We started a program. I started working with Sheriff Owens. Commissioner Richardson was behind it. We decided if we had a place, and that's what happened. We wound up with space, wound up with the funding for guards for the males. Went out and found this lovely lady who painted a huge mural on the wall inside that pod. So now they are amongst themselves. As long as they don't make a mistake, these veterans are in that pod. The other duration, it gives us a chance in the Veterans Court to get to them easier. It gives their attorneys and the VA an easier chance to get to them. Being in general population, you just don't get to check out and go see somebody. So the vet pod was an amazing accomplishment by a lot of good-hearted people. But they're in there with those suits.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, the next thing we're going to do, if we can raise enough money and pick out the right color. And they're all military folks, so they'll fuss about what color they want. Army, Navy, Air
You better line up.
We all got our suits. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you invited us to attend the Veterans Court, I found the reasoning quite significant. One of the things you said was it would put a face to the giving so that the veterans in the program could see that there are folks outside of their circle in the community that care about their lives.
Absolutely. Folks give, they've got big hearts, so they give money, they give their furniture to me, but they're unseen. We had a young couple make a coffee table for they got together, the couple, and they just made this really cool coffee table. And they told me to come and get it. I'll come pick it up. And they seemed to want to know more, what have you. So I just invited them into the courtroom. It is a grand way for veterans to see that this young couple felt strongly enough about our veterans to make them a table. Because I needed a table, coffee tables like y'all provided, the kitchen tables. It's amazing, right? So having y'all come and see them, but also having those people see you. They believe they're alone. They believe they're isolated. There's a lot of good-hearted people out here from, all the way from the Red Cross all the way out, but there's a massive amount of 501c3 groups out here that just, my good friend does a sock drive each year, United Military Care. She does it because her father, during his days of war, kept complaining about how cold his feet were. So she's raised by socks. They all provided undergarments and undershirts. And you'd be surprised what's missing. We held a thing, United Military Care held a thing at the Cobb we've had it 2 years in a row. It's called a We Care Fair.
They have one in November coming up.
Coming up in November, absolutely. Just finished one in Rome, smaller version, but same type. We're getting calls to do it all over because it's so successful. But to give you an idea, in Cobb County, the richness of Cobb County and the richness of people around, it's a Sweetwater mission. I think they said it's like 90,000 pounds of food. We took 10 to 14 homeless right off the street during the 2 days we were there. Haircuts, showers, connection. The irony of that is that whole building was full of 501c3 folks supporting veterans. We literally had a waiting list. We had to turn them away. Every one of those units, they have certain things that they do special.
Weren't there, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't there even things helping with legal documents and things like that as well? Folks helping on that?
Problem with being homeless is you get arrested for just about anything.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to show up to court because you don't have the money to. It's a cycle.
Well, and you can't get into a homeless shelter unless you have certain documents, and
that's right.
Folks don't have access to those.
We were working really hard. Senator Ossoff was kind enough to back a bipartisan committee to really get a simple piece of paper. It's called a DD 214. Most of your veteran viewers will understand right away. Without that, you're not even a veteran. So each of those things, and that's what went down at any of the new regulations from the VA would get pushed through. But those people at that fair signed everybody up. It was amazing. I actually ran into a World War II gentleman, a combat veteran that we knew in the unit he was with. They wheeled him in. So we get a chance to see every veteran across the state is invited to that thing. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. What are the biggest needs that these organizations, Bravo Victor and United Military Care, are facing right now?
Everybody fights for the money. We're funding. And I'd say that each of them have their own. Money's the number one. We need political oversight to help us move it forward. But each one of these 501cs, will have their special need, whatever they do. United Military Care has a small pantry that they have, goods and services that they put out. A lot of these folks are given food on specific places and times, transportation. So I think if veterans had anything to do with anything, organizations that support them, we need housing. And unfortunately, Cobb County is a expensive place to live.
Yeah.
So we don't have that much. It requires the political parties that serve us to step up. But then volunteers. You can't imagine when these programs go down how much work it takes, and it takes these people away from their family, their friends, their loved ones. They do it out of the sacrifices of their heart. They can always use another hand.
Yeah. Well, where can our listeners learn more about volunteering for these organizations? Obviously, we'll put links in the video description on YouTube, but for those radio listeners, where can they link up with these organizations?
I would say, depending on what they want to do, call me.
Careful. The radio might have a lot of listeners.
That part of it, United Military Care, obviously, if you're a veteran, you want to provide your time. The Cobb Veterans Court, obviously the Superior Court of Cobb County. United Military Care, if Miss Kim doesn't know it exists, it doesn't exist. So there's a great hookup there for being able to make that connection. But we're just pushing for as many veterans to help us in the Veterans Court as she would be to have people help them fund for clothing and support.
And that's a great need, is more mentors who are veterans, and that's a huge commitment. That's a lot of commitment, but that is a huge need as well, and a great piece.
I think if you're a veteran and knew the military days, you'd understand the need to be able to just simply give back to a brother or a sister. From the military standpoint, you know what they're going through.
Yeah.
You can help them through it.
Yeah. So you're already extremely active with Bravo Victor and United Military Care. Do you see your involvement changing in retirement?
If I retire?
If you retire?
I'll try to push more on the political side for Veterans Affairs. That's
Great,
where it's headed. That would be my next goal. If I had more time to talk to sitting politicians, it'd be easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And last thing, in your view, what's the most significant contribution to the community from Bravo Victor?
Taking care of veterans who really need a second chance.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. They are backing these men and women that just want another chance to come above the waterline, and it's working.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your service. Thank you for sharing and making us all more aware of how we can take care of those who have taken care of us. Folks, I want to thank you for listening and catching up with us today. Don't forget to check out our website, masterplanretire.com. You can schedule your complimentary consultation there to discuss your own retirement, or call us at the office, 770-980-9262. Also, if you want to check out Bravo Victor Fund or United Military Care, first of all, I know you can find them both on Google, but in the video description, we will put links to both of those sites if you want to get involved for yourself. Thanks again for listening. Dan, thanks for being here, sir. And remember, folks, plan well and prosper.
This was Retirement Roadmap Radio with Mark Fricks of Master Plan Retirement Consultants. To schedule a complimentary consultation, go to masterplanretire.com or call 770-980-9262. Thanks for listening, and remember, plan well and prosper.
All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, a registered investment advisor in the state of Georgia. Mark Fricks and Master Plan Retirement Consultants are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.